Today we'll be talking about CSS. Okay, CSS, which I know you must have heard about it, and it simply stands for Cascading Style Sheet. Is CSS a programming language? No, it's not a programming language. It's just a style sheet. Very, very important. It is not a programming language. It's a style sheet. Okay. So what do we use CSS to do? Simple. We use it for front-end development. That's web design. We use it for web design. So that's what we use it for. When we talk about design, we're talking about things like color. Adding beauty to our web application. Just like you can see right here in this header, we added some color on the background. And we can do some styling on the work. So that's simply what CSS is all about. We'll talk about topography as a kind of arrangement of the website, arranging your content on the website. Okay, a system architectural design pattern or structure that you can use to design your website. Talk about rotation, which is talking about whether the website is on either portrait view or landscape. Portrait view, okay, or whether it's on landscape. If I can type landscape, I guess, yeah, portrait or landscape. So I can actually look at how to do that in using CSS, and believe me, there are much more than this. We add even what we call responsiveness to the design. Responsiveness. So responsiveness is simply a concept, okay, that talks about your application adapting to various screen size that is being viewed for. Okay, adapting to screen sizes of the people viewing your website. So when you design a website, okay, the size of your website matters. For example, this is a size. This particular one, this is a size. If you push it, this is another size. If you push it again, this is another size. And if you can extend it, this is another size. And there are some devices that might be smaller than these two. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. The size of your application, that is what matters in CSS. From the last class, we talked about HTML and how you can do this simple stuff here. In fact, in the HTML class, I could remember vividly that we talked about, like for example, in the header section, we talked about adding style here, the style attribute. Which there's another video where I talked about everything that has to do with HTML attributes. Okay, this is a style attribute. In fact, I'm going to explain what this type of styling is called and how we can actually apply it in our work. Okay, so that is what we are talking about today. So first and foremost, I want to talk about how we can add style. So how do we actually apply style? How to apply CSS to our work, our website, or our work. Let's call it website or an application slash app, because you can use it in app too. Okay, then but before I talk about that, I want to talk about the meaning of what we just mentioned. We called it Cascading Style Sheet. Now we know what style is. Like I said, style simply means it's going to be talking about all these features like design, color, topography, arrangement, orientation, responsiveness, and so on. That's what style is. Adding that color, that feature, that design pattern to your work, make it attractive and dynamic, and all that. So that's what style is all about. Then we'll talk about the sheet. Simply means that it's not a programming language. Like I said, it's not a programming language. In other words, even this is a script. There's a difference between a sheet and a script. Okay. Script is different. Script is essentially a block of code that is written. It can be a kind of a module that's already written and compiled in a particular file, or if it's not compiled, it's in a particular file format that you can actually use it and do something. Right, that's what we're saying. But then here we're talking about being a style sheet. Being a style sheet. Alright, so a sheet is different from all of that. A sheet is different. So that's what we're talking about. So now, cascading simply means that it runs with a particular structure or a particular a pattern, whereby styles are executed from bottom to top. In other words, if you want to run CSS code, the styles are executed from the bottom to the top. unlike other programming where sometimes like HTML runs from top to bottom, like Python runs from left to right and stuff like that. Okay, depending on their compiled and the way they are compiled and all that. And these things are what we call part of software development lifecycle, which is very important. Software development lifecycle. Okay, yeah. So let me write that very quickly. Lifecycle. Yeah, so they are all part of software development lifecycle where we talk about the incremental method. I'm not going to go through that, talk about the incremental method and rainfall, and also there are some other concepts here. We talk about something like a stack, or a stack, talk about queue, and talk about FIFO, LIFO, those kind of concepts that are here. FIFO, LIFO, LIFO, and so on. Okay, so incremental method, I'm not going to go through them, so but you can just look it up. Queue method, what it's all about, why is it called queue and all that. LIFO, that FIFO simples are first in, first out. LIFO stands for last in, first out, and some other concepts like that are associated with this concept of software development lifecycle, which is a kind of an architectural design pattern that's given to developers or programmers to be able to build application based on that standard. Alright, if not, everybody can just wake up and design whatever thing they want to design and all that. Alright, so even in terms of documentation and all that, there are so many things involved. Okay, I just suggest you look it up. Alright, so the concept of cascading simply means that this code is running from bottom to top, and which gives us a concept that which says that the last rule always win. That's the first rule, one of the first rules in writing CSS. It's just like FIFO now means the one that comes in first, first in, first out. So the one that comes in first will also go last. But this one, when we talk about last in, first out, this is actually the last rule always win. We also say the last rule always win. You need first in, last in, but be the one to go first out. This is just like, for example, this is just like this is just like stack, kind of stack something. When you pile up something in a particular order, you notice that the last, okay, let's say it's a book, a pile up of book, and then you're about to go and submit that book to some maybe a lecturer or something, and then someone rush to, let's say you're the customer, someone rushed there and said, I was like, please, can I just submit my own? I'm coming now, what kind of excuse and all that. So you drop your book. The person placed his or her book on top of other people's book. Automatically, he or she is the last person to submit. But when the time for marking comes, the lecturer is going to actually mark for that last person, that's the top. So that's what's the last thing being the first out. That kind of concept. I mean, that's is an example I can just think of right now. So that is how you can actually do that. Okay, it's very, very important we note that. All right. So and the next thing I want to do is I talk about the CSS rules. Okay, before I talk about how to apply them. Okay, let's talk about how to apply them first of all. So to apply CSS, there are three major ways you can apply CSS. One is called the internal style sheet or method for applying CSS. The second one is the external, as you can guess. So we have the external style sheet, and the third one is what we call the embedded, or we can call it inline style sheet. Okay, so these are the three ways you can install or add, it's not install actually, add CSS to your website. So I'm going to treat these three methods right now, then we'll talk about the rules for writing CSS. In fact, let me talk about the rules so I know we are done with the theory. So let's talk about rules for writing CSS. Okay, in these rules for writing CSS code, it's quite simple. Okay, we have what we call the anatomy of a style rule. Okay, and in the anatomy, before the anatomy, okay, I said the last rule always win. Let's do that one. Last rule always wins. Alright, so what does it mean for the last rule to always win? And it's simple. is simple. What we're talking about here is, for example, let's say you come over here and you say, let the body tag, and you now say you want the body to be, you want the color of the body to be, let's say, red. Okay, and then you actually close this rule and you come over here and then select the body again. Okay, even if you don't select the body again, okay, let's say you come over here and then under here you now say again that you want the color now to change to green. What the last rule means, the last rule is actually green. When you run this particular code, you see that the color of the text in the body is going to be green, because the last rule always, this is the last rule, this is the last rule, so it will always win over every other rule that preceded it or something. Okay, so that's what we mean by the last rule always win. So this is the last rule. Let me write a comment there. So this is the last. By the way, this is not how to write CSS comments. So let me write it the way we write CSS comments. So last rule. Can I write last? Yeah, last rule. So this is the last rule. Okay, so this is the last rule. And by the way, this is how we write comments in CSS. So you open two slashes, /, then make sure you add asterisk to each one of them. That's inward, and then write anything you write, and it's also multi-line comment. And you're going to jam this comments method in both Python, PHP, C#, JavaScript, and so on. They call them multi-line comment method. So that's what PHP uses. Unlike HTML, if you can recall HTML, can you recall? Just take a minute and see if you can recall. HTML is something like this. It's not true. So this is so this is your comment. Yeah. So this is HTML comment. If you can remember from our last class. So this is actually HTML comment. When we get to JavaScript, I also write that of JavaScript, which is quite simple. Okay, and we have that of Python, PHP, and every other language has for the most part they are similar comment method, but then that is how it is. All right. So this is how we can write a simple style rule. Okay, very, very simple. Okay, so that's how we can. So let's talk about the anatomy of a style rule. The anatomy of a style rule simply says that a style sheet should be written in a particular order. So the order is this. The order is this. You have what called selector, or selectors. Can be more than one, depending on what you are trying to do. Okay. So after the selector, you select the property you want to use. So this is the property, and again, it can be properties depending on what you're doing and what you want to achieve. Then you put semicolon, put the value of that property you want to do, or again values, and then close it with semicolon. Another thing again is that if it mustn't be values, it can be some other things, like let's say it can be units. Okay, you can select units or units. Now using units, that's a kind of a method of a medium of measurement. Let's say under units. Now let me write our comment again. Sorry, let's write our comment again. Let's say this can be, for example, we want to say 4%. Let's do something like this, 4%, or why 4? Let's do 100. Okay, 100% of something. Apart from percentage, you can use other units. We're going to talk about units as a course, as a topic. We'll talk about it. Alright, so this is a selector or selectors. Okay, you can do selectors. Yeah, but we are selecting a particular element. So any element here can be. So I'm going to talk about types of selector. Don't worry, in a minute. We'll talk about types of selector, and then we will continue from there. From maybe our next class. I want to make this one. This is just an introductory course to what CSS is all about and how to get you started with CSS. Alright, so then in our next class I'm going to treat selectors. We have about 9 or 8 selectors. No, I think it should be 9 selectors. So I'll just go through that very quickly, and then when we talk about what selectors are, they are just they are just entities, or we can call them objects or namespace that allows us to select a particular element. So assuming I want to style this heading 2, I want to give it a color of red. How do I select it? So the method I'm going to use to select it is actually being given to me by what we call a selector or selectors. Okay, so that selector can be anything. It can be any of the attributes. It can even be the tag name. Let's say this is h2. Of course, it's h2. I can use the tag name to tag it h2, and then I can use it and do what I want to do. Or I can give it what we call ID or class. I'm going to talk about that. Excuse me, and use it to do that. Alright, and then we have properties. Now, properties, what the property you want to add to it. What is it? What value do you want to add to that particular thing? Let's say it's color. So if it's color, I'm going to say color, like I did here. So if it's color, this becomes a property. Sorry, this becomes a property of color, and then this becomes a value I want to do to that color. So this is the property, this is the color. So the body becomes the selector that selects the body of the element, which is the whole body of this what's it called, of this website. Okay, the whole body of the website, it selects it, and remember the body is actually a tag. If you can remember from HTML, let me show you very quickly. This is the body. This is what we're talking about, the body. So this is the body, and this is the body. Okay, the opening and the closing tag. So everything inside here becomes the body of the website. Of course, if I click on About Us, you see that that's actually what we have here. This is the home and the About Us and all that. So this is the body of the element. If I want to style this body, I can actually go to, okay, I can actually come over here like that rule I said there. I put there, I can actually just say body, and then when I open body, I can say I want the background of that body, the background color of that body to be red, and then if I save, you see automatically the background color becomes red. If I don't want it to be red, I want it to be green, I can say green, and if I save, the background color becomes green. If I want it to be black, the same thing, I can come over here and set it to black, and then if I save, it becomes black. So this is how it is. Very simple it is to run through. And then I'm going to mention the three different ways of writing this rule. The one I just did now is called internal styling, whereby I have an opening tag of here CSS here and CSS here. So I'm going to remove it for a minute. So I'm going to cut it out and then save. So I'll come back to how we were before. So that is what we're talking about, styling. So you select a particular element you want to use. So this becomes the selector. This becomes the property that you want to work on, and then this becomes the value of that property. And you can do this for as many elements as in your particular system. So we're going to list all the selectors we have. The types they are grouped into 7 or 8 or 9. I can't remember. So I think it should be 9 or 8, something like that. Just I mean, for the most part, you don't really need to know them. Like I'll just show you how to, the most important words you'll be using. And we're going to take our time and explain all of them. By the time we're done, we talk about properties. Like this background property now has a lot of things. Talk about something like transform, translate, and some of a lot of them. Transition, and some other things. Then after that, we're going to talk about, after those topics, we're going to talk about. Let me do CSS comment again. Okay, so you just master you. So then, like I said, this is a multi-line comment. After that, we're going to talk about CSS. Sorry. We're going to talk about concepts like responsiveness, and how it works. We're going to talk about CSS variables. So we'll talk about what a variable is. Variables. Of course, we'll talk about CSS function too. Actually, not function. Let's call it method. CSS methods that we have, and then we're going to talk about apart from these ones, and we're going to talk about advanced design concepts. If you're doing UI design, you talk about advanced design concepts. What we do in design? Design. Can I spell design? Design concept. Okay, so we'll talk about some advanced design concepts that we use in CSS. Okay. However, these are of course some of the advanced topics, including under this now we'll talk about something like animation. Okay, something like animation, how to animate CSS code using transform properties and all that. We'll talk about something like imports, how to import external style from another resource, how to import style. Of course, under responsiveness, we're going to talk about media query. So these are some of the things we'll talk about after we are dealt with all these other ones. So there's still so much to talk about. I'm not even the animation alone might be just a video of its own. Import might be another video of its own. You know, all of them might be just separate video. I might try to do 2 at a time. Okay, I think I can do that. 2. Yeah, I think it's possible to do that. Okay, but then before then, we'll talk about selectors, we'll talk about properties, and talk about methods. Right now, let me talk about how to link CSS. That's the internal style sheet, and the external style sheet, and then embedded style sheet. All right, so let's do that quickly. All right, I'm going to use the about HTML. If you have been following the course, you see that we have a file called the about us.html. Okay, about us.html. So that's the one I'll be using. So under this, I'm going to do okay, not under that. Let me just create a simple list here. Okay, so I'm going to create a UI list. Under that, I'll have an li. I'm going to call this, let's call it orange, for example. And then after that, I'll have another one. Let me call it apple. After that, I'm going to have another one. Let me call it purple. Karika papaya. Alright, if I save, I have these guys here. By the way, I'm using Lifecycle. Remember from our last class, we talked about Lifecycle, how you can serve your project. So that by the time I save, I don't need to refresh and it will actually appear here immediately. Almost that's asynchronous. Alright. Okay. Okay. Let's do this. So I'm going to start from, like, for example, remember I told you that CSS actually runs from bottom to top. So I'm going to start from bottom to top. I'm going to start from the third one. And it's not like any of the method is the best way. Well, the best way is actually the second one, which is external. That's professionally. It's not actually the best way. Let's say it's professional. Okay, to actually write your style sheet, externally, based on the fact that it modularizes your code to make it neat and more readable. Okay, and that's the one we'll be using for the most part. But then you need to know how to use the other ones. Okay, so let me talk about embedded or inline style sheet. So it's called embedded or inline because the style is actually added in between the code itself. Like you can see here, there's a style tag. So for example, let's say I want to style this box, the box that is containing the parents that is containing these 3 children, and the parents that is containing these 3 children is the UL. So all I need to do is to call style, put equal to, and open my quotes. Then any style I enter here, you see from here you can see all the styles. If you have VS to suggest all the styles for you that you can use. So these are all the styles that you can actually use here. So let me say I want it to have a background color. Let me do background color just like I did before. So I do background color of, let me say I want it to be you can call any color of your choice. We're going to also learn about color code, which I didn't even add there. We're going to learn about color code. Of course, when we start it, so if I save, you see that there's a background color of that brown, and then this text I want it to be white. So if I come over here and say I want color, now there's a difference between color and background color. If I want the color to be white, I'll just say I want the color to be white, and if I save, now the color is white. So the color itself is the color of the text, while the background color is the color of the container where the text is located. I will repeat, or just take me wind the video back if I'm too fast, so you can comprehend what I'm saying. However, I want to add some space in here. You see this orange is almost touching here, the purple is there too close to, well, you'll see. So I'll just add what we call a padding property, and don't worry so much about them. I will explain them as we proceed. So the padding gives us space around the container, so within the container of an element. So I just add padding of 10 pixels. Pixels is the use of measurements. Now can you just, like, you can say 10 centimeter here, or anything, but we use pixel, which is the one of the smallest unit of measurement in the whole of mathematics and physics. Okay, it's not really just about programming. Alright, so I'll save, and then you see what I have. I have a pattern around this stuff, and then it's looking almost much better. Alright, so I mean that is what we can do. There are so much more we can do with this, but then this is just an introduction to what we can do with that. You see how beautiful it's looking now. It's looking so much better. Alright, so what if I want to change the color of this orange? I want it to have a different color from all this one. I mean this is internal styling. Remember, I also do it with external styling and also inline styling, so you see the difference between the 3 of them. So to do that, for let's say for apple, I want apple to be green, and I want purple to be, well, yellow or something. Alright, so I can come over here and say style. Remember, you call style, and now say I want the color of purple to be what? Green. And that's all. And we'll learn color code. How can we put color code here? But for now, I'll just keep it as see. Now this is green. Okay, this is green. So I know you might not be able to see very well, but it's actually green. Okay, let me increase the size. I can just say to increase the size, I'll just say font size of what? Font size, I'll just do 25 pixels. Just do 25 pixels. And then save, and then you see, nice, it's actually a little bit bigger. You can actually see it. Alright, so that's what we're saying. Very simple, very simple, very straight to the point. And then that's how we can do that. Okay, that's how we can do that. So what if I want to do that up? Can you change it to yellow? Can you change it to yellow? Just pause the video and see if you can change it to yellow by just adding style, then say color equal to what? Yellow. Voila, and that's it. And now it's yellow. Wow, and now it's yellow. Okay, so that's what we're saying. Very simple to add styles. Inline styling to your work. Inline styling to your work. Inline styling to your work. So that's what we did here. That's what we did here. That's what we did here. Even from the beginning, that's what we did here using inline styling. So it's called inline styling, or you call it embedded what? Styles. Embedded style sheets or style, anyhow you want to put it. Alright, so that's how simple it is to add our style, our work, colors to our work. And this is just color that I'm doing. You can do much more than just color. You can change, okay, there's font size here, yeah, and there's font size that is padded, yeah. You can do so much more to your work, you know. That's you can change this orange to capital letters. You can, you know, you can rotate this orange, put it, you can even shift it to the left. For example, if I just come to this orange, maybe I want this orange to stay somewhere around this other side, so I can just come here and float it. Just say style and say float. Instead of being to the left, I'll just say float right. And if I save, now the orange is now at the right. Okay, so that's just to say the limit. You have limited thing. That I mean, you have unlimited ways you can, you know, treat your work. So by just saying float this thing to the right, shift it to the right, that means go carry this orange from where it is, push it to the right. And we can actually do this by just using CSS. So you see all those sites you're seeing that are very good looking and all that. For example, if we come over to, let me see, maybe Gmail, stuff like this. Okay, this is my Gmail account, and then you look at the panel, you see the arrangement of even this over, like I'm moving here, I'm scrolling my mouse under it, and then there is a kind of a shadow on the text. These are all CSS. Even this button that you see, if I hold on the button, it gives me shadow and all these things. Okay, it makes your site interactive. Click on this button and this thing will hide. This is actually this is actually CSS. You can actually do this thing with CSS, though you can do it with JavaScript too. Okay, but then you can do it with CSS. With all this logo here, you know, all this stuff you can see, most of these things are all styles. If I wipe here, and then you can see things, you know, these buttons and all that. These things are style. If you open my WhatsApp here, for example, this stuff that is here, you know, these things, they are all styles. Open the Google Classroom and you see stuff like that. So all these things are styles. And there are so much I could show you, but then let's keep it as simple as possible. So that's how we can add styles to in our website using the embedded style method. The next method I want to talk about is the second one, the internal styling. Okay, internal styling. In internal styling is almost the same thing with these. The only difference is that the embedded one is written right inside the HTML tag. Okay, the embedded style is written right inside the HTML tag. Why the internal styling, you create a style tag for it. So you have a style tag, the opening tag, and the closing tag. Please note the difference. This one, let me write a comment. Remember our comment method, open slashes with 2 asterisks inside. So I can say this is what internal style sheets. So this is internal style sheets. Okay, so have an internal style sheet. So anything I write here can still work. For example, if I still come over here, like if you remember vividly, this background color of let's say background color of, let's use something that is a little bit here. Let's save. See, we can have that background color here. So this is internal styling. Let's say, for example, okay, before I create, okay, let's say for example this purple, I want to move it to this side too. I can actually target it here by using internal styling. What I can do, I can target the li, okay, the third one. You remember now there is where selector come in. We'll talk about selectors. And target the ul and then target the third child or the last child of that element and then push it. Let me show you what I mean. Of course that will be a little bit advanced, but then I just want to show you. So if I say ul, I can use what we call pseudo selector, the last child. Okay, sorry, last child, it should be last child, yeah, last child. And then the last child, I want to float it to the well, maybe to the right, I guess, and then save, and then nothing happens. Okay, I think I should do li here. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so the last child of the li, sorry, so the last child, I need to do li, so the last, and then it's actually here now. Okay, but I want to comment it out. Just select it, press Ctrl/ on your keyboard if you're using VS Code or Sublime, and then save, and then come back to how it was. So this is what we call inline styling, adding style inside. Now this style, the rule is that this style must be added inside the head tag. Okay, this is your head tag, this is the opening head tag, and this is the closing head tag. So you must actually add this style within your head section, head, not header. There are difference there. This head section. Make sure you add the tag in between there. If not, it's not going to work. I mean, it will work, okay, but it's not ideal. It's not ideal. That's not how it is done. All right. So that's how we can do internal styling. Very, very simple and straight to the point. Okay. And we can do all the things we've done before. We can still do all of them. The only thing, another difference there is that in internal and external styling, you need to actually use selectors to select that particular element. Why in embedded style you don't need selectors. All you need to do is just to write style and then put whatever style you want there, and it works. Not just a major disadvantage or advantage, however you want to see it there. Alright, so the next one, which is the external style sheet, okay, is simple. All I need to do is to set it up. Okay, you have a little bit of setup you need to do. First of all, in external styling, you create the CSS file. This CSS file now, this CSS style, it needs to be outside of your website. It needs to be outside of your website. So it will be outside of your website. So to do that is simple. All you need to do is to create a new file. So I'm going to come over here. I already have a folder called CSS and it's empty. So I create a new folder, call it CSS. Then I'm going to create a new file there, and that file I'm going to call it style. You can call it anything you want, but make sure that you say it ended with .css. Okay, CSS. Okay, so the file has to be ended with .css. Okay, put .css so that it will know that this is a style sheet, that is not a normal file. Okay, so this is a style sheet. Call it style sheet. In fact, this is external. Style sheet. This external style sheet. Okay, so now if you write your style here, for example, let's say we do background again. Sorry, I'm using background, but background again. Let's say background color of let me do violet and save. Of course, come over to this one and make sure I remove this. Okay, let's comment this one out. Ctrl/ to comment it out so that it doesn't work. So if I save, it should be back to normal. So, but then you see that the style I actually added here, I said let the background color be blue. It's not actually showing. Why? Because I need to link it. I need to link this particular CSS file to this HTML here. If not, it's not going to work. and then to link it, I'll come over here. You can link it anywhere you want, you know, I mean not really anywhere you want, okay, for the most part, because it has a disadvantage. I will show you in a minute. Okay, so let's do that. So to link our external style, so I'm going to say, put a comment here, control slash, say external style sheet. Under here you use what we call the link tag. So link tag, click on it, and then we can link our style sheet. Now our style sheet is not actually this. You need to link it properly, so that it just like when we did image and videos. If you check that previous tutorial, you see where we have images and videos. Okay, how you link it to is the same thing, any media at all. So I do dot slash dot, which is the current directory, slash, which is the root directory, and then I need to select CSS, and I need to select style.css. With VS Code, it actually gives you with the embed application, it helps you to do this. Okay, now if I save, see that automatically it changes to that color which is coming from this file. So if I come over here and change it to red, for example, and save, you see it turns to red. So I'm controlling the features of this website from this particular other file or style sheet that is here. So if I save, give me that color. So that is how we can link CSS, both internal and external style sheet. So to link internal one, you open the style tag. So you open the style tag in the head section of the website. So it has to be inside the head section of your website. Okay, so inside the head section of your website, just make sure you remember that it has to be inside there. If not, it's not going to work. Okay, if not, it's not going to work. So you have to be inside the head section of the website. If not, it's not going to work. All right. So this one makes use of style tag, of course. While this one is makes use of external file. So the file can be file. Let me call it file.css. You can call it anything. You can call it your name.css, anything you want. While embedded style is also written inline inside. So it's written inside the HTML tag. So this is written inside HTML tag. Inside HTML tag. Okay, so that is how it is. Very simple. Very simple. All right, let's save. Okay, don't even need to save it. Okay, I don't need to save the file. All right, so that's where we'll be stopping for today. So the next thing I want to do is finally mention some of the selectors we have in CSS, and that's where we're going to stop. I'll just say some selectors in CSS. So the selectors are these. So one, we have the universal selector. Then two, we have the tag selector. I will not be adding selectors, so you can just add it. Tag selector. We have the class selector. We have the ID selector. We have the attributes. Some textbooks will tell you that attribute selector and that's a class, and ID selector and also attributes selector, but they're a little bit different. I'll show you. Now we have what we call the multiple selector, or the one called Descendant selector, and we have the one we call Pseudo, I think so, yeah, Pseudo-class and Pseudo-Element selector. I almost forget that. I always do forget it. Pseudo-class and Pseudo-Element selector. So how many have I mentioned? I think it should be 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, like I said, they're actually 9 in number. Okay, so whoa, don't mind me. So these are the selectors we have in CSS. Very important. So I'm going to explain all of them for our next class. We're going to continue exactly where we stopped here, and then we're going to talk about all these selectors and how we can use them to select our work. And then, like I said, we're making use of external CSS for the most part. Okay, so I have an assignment. So read up. So this assignment is simple. So read up. What is the difference? Mention. In fact, let me say mention. Let's say 3 differences between the three methods of adding CSS, the 3 methods. Abi? 3 is the method, or I called it methods of adding CSS to HTML. There are 3 methods. Remember, those 3 methods are what? Can you mention them? External style sheet, internal style sheet, and embedded or inline style sheet. So what is the difference between them? There's one core difference between them. Anybody that gets it will have a prize from me. The core difference between 3 of them. Something that is very, very important in terms of the cascading rule that we talked about. Alright, thank you so much for joining us today. And for those of you that have issue with network with the asynchronous class, we'll find a way to rectify that. But for now, thank you so much for joining us. So make sure you get this. I'm going to post this file in our classroom. So go there and download the file. Make sure you go through it. And of course, it's quite simple. If you have followed along, it's very simple.